Today we're going to tie another samurai. This one is in the colours of the Calvin shrimp, which is very effective, particularly in the late part of the season. So I'm using an orange, fluorescent orange tube this time. As per usual, I cut it at a slant and slid the 1.8mm inner inside it. I slide my tie-in silk underneath between the two and then bind the two to attach and go back to where I want to tie my butt. I'm going to use an orange mirage here. Put a strand in behind my tie-in silk. A couple of turns to put it on. And a dab of varnish to wrap it into. This is because mirage, if you wrap it on the pure tube colour, it transmits the colour of the tube through and gives you a really nice effect on the butt. And it's not just as nice when you wrap it on your tie-in silk. So bring those butts forward, or the waist ends, because we're going to use those in the wing, and come back to the butt. Next part is a holographic gold flat braid. So I'll tie that down to where my butt ends and come forward 2/3 of the way, and then wrap on roughly half to 2/3 of the body of holographic flat braid. Tie it off, fold it back on itself, and a few whips to secure it. Now I'm going to use a little bit of gold light bright mix. Put that on as a dubbing ball. The Calvin's is a 3-coloured wing. Here I've got a bit of, I dyed it red and hot orange. I'm pulling out the fibres just to leave the guard hair. I'm going to place that on at about 1.5 times the body length. And remove those bits. Take a little bit of super glue, put it on my thread, and bind over those waist ends. I'm going to take then what I had left of the mirage that I made the butt with and fold that back over the top of the underwing and trim it off. Next portion is going to be an orange fox. I'm going to take a bunch of that and tie this in on top of that. Take out some of the underfur, and that's going to be slightly longer than the first portion of the wing. A couple of wraps on forward of where I actually want to have it bound down, and that means then that I can use my nail and I can flare out the portion where it's going to be bound down and get it to sort of spread round the hook a little bit, or around the shank, and then a couple of turns back over it. I want to use like an orange mirage crystal here. Take a strand of that, tie it in and fold it back on itself. Some people tie Calvins. It can be quite dull in colour. I like them to be very bright. I suppose it just depends, whatever works for yourself. So that. Again, a little bit of super glue and wrap down over to tidy up the butt ends. The top part of the wing is a magenta fox. So pick out a bunch of that. And take out a good portion of the under fur and then set that on the top to come out to the full length of the wing. Now this one, the guy I'm tying these for, wants it to be 70mm, so that's roughly 70mm to the tip of my bristle hair there. So I'm going to match up the tips of my magenta fox out to that point. Cut that off. I'm going to put a bit more super glue onto the thread. A couple of turns to the front part of it. Splay that out across the top. Hold it down and then wrap back onto it. I'm going to take a brush and brush out that wing. You see I've got a nice taper and teardrop shape to my wing. The three colours involved in this seem to complement each other very well, and they sort of blend when they're in the water. The next portion of this fly is to add jungle cock. I'm going to put one on my side. In these patterns you tend to leave the jungle cock quite long, so this is going to be roughly the length of to the back of the tube. Take one for the other side. And then trim off the spare bits. A little bit of super. Next portion is an orange mix of synthetic dubbins. It's a mix of orange and tangerine and coppers. I'll make a loose dubbin ball of that. First I'm going to put a couple of little dabs of super glue onto the base where it's going to lay so that it doesn't slip, because you're producing a loosely wound ball as such. So when I have that on, I'm going to pick that out a bit, and in front of that I'm going to place a red mix. Now, I've made this red mix with 4 or 5 different portions, and it has some thick fibres, some thin fibres, some that break, some that don't. And again, a loosely wound ball of dubbin at the front of that. Using my scissors, pick it out. Now the advantage of the scissors is because they have a cutting edge on them. I can push through, it'll pick up the loops of the dubbin and then it'll cut them as it comes out, and you end up with this roughened sort of fake hackle effect. Brush that out. And again, to stop that sliding forward, I'll just pull all that and place a little bit of super glue in at the front. Now, Calvin's has 2 hackles at the front of it. We're going to do the same here, so we're going to use an orange soft hackle. Now you could use cock pheasant rump here, you could use golden pheasant dyed hot orange, you can use mini ostrich or mini marabou or whatever you feel like. So I'm just going to tie that in by the tip, fold it back, and then put on a few turns of that. Tie that down. Clip that off. In front of that, on this one I'm going to use one. This is another soft hackle. Now I dyed this one hot orange, and then I added a bit of red, and then I added a bit of magenta to it, and it gives me a very nice colour. It gets in the water and gets wet. Gives a real rich red colour at the front. So I'm doubling back that hackle. Now, I don't want so much of this on, so what I'm going to do is snap the hackle halfway up so that I'm missing the shorter parts. And then I'm going to separate out a few fibres at the tip so that I'm tying in just on the very tip of my stalk. Turn across that when it's folded, and then I'm going to put a little bit of super glue on my thread just to tie those in, but also so that when I wrap my 1 or 2 turns of hackle here, it should be on the slightly wet super glue and should just stick it in place. Turn across the stalk to hold it in place, fold it back on itself, and a turn. Now super glue the thread, and tie it in. And that, now I'm going to put a cone on this, but that's how you produce micro heads if you're looking just to tie a temple dog with a very, very small head. And then a couple of half hitches to finish that off. Now that's the fly. I now need to put on a gold hybrid cone, so I'm going to set that on the needle. Take a bit of a good super glue and then push the little cone hard back into that to fix it in place. Right, take that off the tube holder. Cut it leaving about 1.5 mil, maybe 2 mil of tube. Hold it upright. And then flame that down. Now this is another tube holder that I have that I find more useful for this job than tying flies on. So I place that down into the eye of the tube, and then I flame the needle itself. That heats it up, and that allows me to slide the needle down into the tube, and that kind of melts it but widens it to the bore, the same bore as what the needle is here. and that. Is a Kelvin Samurai.